In another time, and in another place, lies the distant and fantastic world of Khartouma, and within, the place of my birth. Dantavish, Jewel of the Sands. A city of kings and conquerors, of men and monsters. My name is General Judah Dante, and it is here that I have forged a privileged life of family, wealth, and status. But there is an evil that stirs from within the heart of the kingdom, a bloodthirsty cult of dark sorcerers known as the Abissinian Warlocks. They have an iron grip on Dantavish, and no one, not even the king, will challenge their authority. But there's something malevolent on the horizon. Tethar, demon lord of the fifth realm of the Abyss and patron god of the Abissinian Warlocks, is planning to bring about a hellish apocalypse. Only I and my motley band of loyal soldiers stand in his way. Together, we must face every type of demon, ghoul, and supernatural fiend if we hope to save our world. For we are the warriors of Khartouma.
The three moons shine brilliantly as their radiance permeates through the night air of the surrounding desert. From his balcony perch within the central palace, the troubled eyes of Marcian IV stare upwards. Slowly his eyes drift down into the vast yet serene expanse of the city of Dantavish. For a few moments the king just gazes blankly into his empire, a nervous and exasperated breath escaping his nostrils. He tears himself away from the balcony and retreats back into his magnificent throne room. For a few more moments, He wanders around aimlessly, his eyes eventually landing upon the frightening and gigantic edifice of a gargoyle-like creature. This was Tethar, abyssal lord of the Fifth Realm and currently the patron god of Dantavish. Marcian rubs his eyes before taking a knee and bowing his head.
My lord Tethar, I pray for your guidance, for my spirit is increasingly troubled.
The king only manages to keep his eyes closed in pseudo-prayer for a few more moments before the distraction of his anxiety takes over and he again stands to his feet. In actuality, Tethar was the furthest thing from his mind. Instead, Marcian leans against his throne in anguish. Known as the Throne of First Sands, it was an exquisite and bejeweled royal seat that had the crest of the first 10 kings of Dantavish engraved on his front pylons. The king then sits upon the throne in a defeated sort of way, before grabbing the large medallion that hangs around his neck and forcefully yanking it off. He looks down at the amulet, the form of his own family crest, staring back at him.
Perhaps it is you I should be praying to, Father. The dynasty weighs so heavy around my neck. I pray for your wisdom.
Suddenly, he is startled by the sound of the throne room doors being forcefully flung inwards. In walks Thelio, High Priest of the Abissinian Warlocks, a slight shine reflecting off his hairless head, his long silken robes swishing about his slight build. Behind him are 2 guards dragging in an older man, stains of blood covering his forehead. Marcian absent-mindedly discards his family crest to the side and stands up.
What is the meaning of this, Thelio?
Forgive the intrusion, Your Highness, but I felt it best to bring this matter directly to your attention,
says Thelio, his voice creaking with an odd cadence. Marcian squints his eyes slightly and bends down to look at the injured man, who is now wheezing with exhaustion.
I think I know this man.
As well His Highness should.
You are Marcian, are you not? One of the elder Jin Yang who served my father.
Indeed, Your Highness. It pains me to say this, but Marcian was caught spouting conspiratorial rhetoric near one of the town squares.
I was merely lamenting the state of our great city and how far we've fallen without the guidance of the One Superior. If you consider that conspiratorial, then we're worse off than I feared,
says Marcian, a hint of defiance in his voice. Thelio kneels down and aggressively grabs the old man's chin.
You sought to undermine the mighty Tethar with your insurrectionist rabble. 'Tis a crime punishable by death.
He is a Jin Yang who once held position in the royal court under my father. He at least deserves to plead his case.
This is no time for His Majesty to show weakness, especially under the gaze of the great Tethar. Besides, the Jin Yang are a pathetic relic of a bygone era. We follow a new way now, the ways of Tethar, Lord of the Fifth Realm.
Marcian swallows hard as he grips his tunic and looks off into the distance, as if not wanting to look the warlock directly in the face. Thelio narrows his eyes as he saunters ever closer to the king.
You know, there have been rumblings that His Majesty's own devotion to our great god may be suspect. Perhaps you too are guilty of treasonous thoughts.
This seems to snap Marcian back to reality as he shoots Thelio an angry glare.
You dare accuse your king of treason to his own kingdom?
Thelio smiles in a devious smirk.
But of course not, Great One. 1,000 pardons to his majesty. However, as such, you do know the law of Abyss and Tethar alike. Marcian is clearly guilty of conspiracy and his own deviant thoughts against the monarchy. 'Tis clear what must be done,
He says as the warlock unsheathes a small dagger from his belt and presses the weapon into Marcian's hand. The king looks away once again.
I care not. Take him outside and execute him if you will, but do it out of my presence.
No, your highness. For what better way to prove your devotion than right here in front of Tethar? For you must set an example, not only for those around you, but for Dantavish as a whole,
Says Thelio as he casually notices Marcian's discarded amulet on the throne. He goes over to retrieve it and hands it back to the king.
If not for Tethar, well then for your father. Prove yourself the strong leader that he was.
Thelio spouts off, but this only results in another telling glare from Marcian.
To execute a man without proper trial goes against every Dantavian tradition upheld for over 3,500 years by everyone, including Marcian III.
Trying to appeal for compassion with your traditionalist tripe is fruitless, old man.
Marcian lifts his head high and looks directly into Marcian's eyes.
If you consider compassion to be traditionalist tripe, then you are indeed weak and unworthy of your father's mantle. If it be true, then Dantavish has already fallen.
No, 'tis lies.
Shouts Marcian, gripping the dagger tight, rage flashing across his eyes as he leaps forward and sinks the blade deep into Marcian's chest, causing the man to double over and collapse into the king's arms. Marcian pulls the blade out, his hands now covered in blood, as he steps back from the carnage.
Dantavish will never fall under my rule. Never! Do you hear me?
The king recoils, almost as if the horror of what he's just done now starts to sink in. He looks back at Thelio, fear and vulnerability in his eyes. He is as a frightened child seeking some kind of reassurance. Thelio steps forward, a small smirk still remaining on his lips.
There, your majesty, for you needn't fret. Why, you've done well this night. Be assured, both Tethar and your father are proud of your actions.
Marcian intakes a sharp breath as he hurriedly exits out of the back of the throne room. Thelio looks after him with a cold smugness. A few moments later, he casually walks past Marcian's lifeless body.
Guards, dispose of that trash before he starts to stink.